Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here. The Penn State football season is about to begin. If you missed it, Shawn and I broke down the offense and defense with former offensive lineman of the Penn State football team, Landon Tangwall. You can catch the defensive preview here and the offensive preview on his show, Behind the Wall, with Landon Tangwall. Today we'll be discussing the intangibles of the season preview, schedule, expectations, and of course, predictions. Stay tuned. I'm going to try to do this episode without any water, so see how far I get.
I have a brew with me.
Oh, a little Friday beer.
Yep, I'm on vacation now, so.
That's right. All right. Well, I think we're good to start.
All right.
Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Shawn. I can't go high today. Kane. How you doing today, Shawn?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. I appreciate the effort, Cory.
Just don't have the voice today.
Yeah, as I mentioned to our folks that are on with us live, I'm on vacation now, so I am in a happy-go-lucky mood. So maybe that influences how I feel about this season.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Maybe.
Hint, hint. Shawn, this is technically now, in a way, season 4 for me covering football. Really, though, this is season what? 2.5?
This will be the third football season we covered together.
Time flies.
I know, right?
So again,
yeah,
I
two
mentioned
calendar years, but third football season.
Right. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Our defensive preview is here. We did the offensive preview on Landon Tangwall's show. Go check that out if you haven't. Today's focus is a little bit more on the intangibles. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. A couple housekeeping items. Former Penn State quarterback Trace McSorley signs with the Washington football team, a.k.a. the Commanders. And breaking news, former wide receiver Jahan Dotson traded to the Philadelphia Eagles from the Commanders. So there you go.
Yeah, I think Eagles fans are really excited to have Saquon and Jahan on the same team. They were never on the same team before. I had to look that up to see if they had ever played together. But Jahan's first year was 2018, and Saquon was already with the Giants. So that's a pretty loaded offense.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you almost want to be an Eagles fan, but not quite.
Yeah.
Shawn, this will be the last time you and I speak on the podcast until after the West Virginia game. We will have from Roar Lions Roar, Phil DeFilippo, as the fill-in co-host for Shawn on Wednesday night. Shawn, you just went over there and recorded an episode of them. How was that?
Really fun. Yeah, go check that out. If you haven't already, I think they're gonna have. I don't know if they've posted it yet, to be completely honest with you. But Matt and Bill were really fun. They did an over/under show, and I was part of that. They were gracious enough to have me on. So yeah, it was a lot of fun with those guys. Definitely check that out. They're fun to talk ball with.
Yeah,
and Bill and Cory will have a great show on Wednesday.
Yeah, hence why I invited Bill on the show. He'll be the first guest picker. For people that are asking, yes, we will do the pick'em. Thankfully, this weekend, there are no Big Ten teams playing. So I didn't have to not have been prepared for this week. So I got lucky. I think last year, Nebraska and Northwestern played week 0.
2 years ago. I remember Scott Frost got fired shortly after that.
Oh, that was already 2 years ago. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the game that I was like, there's no way he survives this season.
That's right. But for those that don't know, yes, we do a pick 'em. It's free to play. Usually give away some merch. I think we gave away. Did we give away a signed hack jersey last year? Was that what it was?
Yeah, signed hack jersey. I'm sure we'll arrange something nice for you like that again.
Yep. And all you have to do, I'll post it on Twitter. There'll be a link. You just fill out the Google form for who you think's going to win the game. Then you have an opportunity for a double down against the spread. Don't want to fall behind. You don't want to miss a couple weeks because you will be out of the running. And Shawn and I compete as well. So for all of you who think you're smarter than us, this is your opportunity. I believe. Well, I got first the first time we did it, and last year, I think I got second or third.
Yeah, Cory beat me. I started off real hot and then fell off as Big Ten season went on. So,
I think, did Einstein win? I forget who won.
I forget who won. I know it's a long time listener though. Yeah, I think it was him. I remember him and his kids having the picture with the hack jersey.
That's right. Anywho, the pick'em will be back. We will be also back. I haven't actually asked you this yet, Shawn, but I assume we'll be going back to Monday, Wednesday nights.
Yeah, I mean that works for me.
We'll see what we can do. I mean, there'll be obviously some things that we
move things around. That's fine, but
right. So we'll be back to Monday, Wednesday nights. Monday show will be more of a recap show. Wednesday more of a prediction show. Any other housekeeping items, Shawn?
Not that I could think of. We'll miss you guys on Wednesday, but you'll still hear my voice because I did my prediction already. You guys won't hear it tonight for the West Virginia game. You won't hear it tonight, but I do have my prediction, and you'll hear it Wednesday.
Was it hard to do your prediction this early? Did it feel kind of weird?
A little bit, because the thing with this one is we're still in summer mode. Like I am still in summer mode until, like, when I was in school, I always thought, well, when you go back to school, it's no longer summer. But now that I'm not in school, I kind of think of, I mean, I guess when the kids go back to school, it's a good way to gauge it. And most of the high school and younger kids go back this coming week. And I think for a lot of the older people, they think of it as right after Labor Day. So it's kind of like I'm coming in the summer, and then I'll see you in the fall.
Shawn, I also just realized one more housekeeping item. You had the off season to watch Lord of the Rings, and did you accomplish that?
No.
I mean, at what point do we have to get a new co-host because you just don't? You had one homework assignment, one summer reading.
Well, Cory, when we were on your bachelor party, you should have just had us all watch Lord of the Rings.
That would have been an awesome idea.
Maybe for mine, that's what we'll do.
We'll sit there and that'd be a fantastic time. So maybe next year, I guess.
Yeah, I'll see you in April.
We will give us our predictions for the Hardee's Awards. If you guys forgot or haven't been here for it, we do have an award show at the end of the year. So we'll go through those awards and who we think might win those. And then we will wrap up the show with our prediction for the season and our thoughts on why. I think the best place to start, Shawn, is with the actual Penn State football schedule. And I'll just run through it just in case. Honestly, it's good practice for me because I haven't exactly nailed it all out in my head yet. Like, I haven't got to the point where I'm like, they go on this date. Like, I don't know my dates to the games yet. I kind of have a decent order. The MAC schools, I don't exactly remember who was playing who, but I'll go through the list right now. So Penn State obviously starting the season on August 31st against West Virginia. That is officially a Fox noon kick. Then they will play Bowling Green at home. Officially a noon kick, September 7th.
You know who used to coach Bowling Green?
I do not.
An old enemy of ours.
Old enemy of ours?
Yes.
Not currently an enemy?
Not currently, but I still despise this guy because I think he's a scumbag.
Big Ten coach.
Yes, Big Ten coach.
Harbaugh.
No, not him.
I don't know where he started.
I think he started out west. I think San Diego State.
Oh. Tim Beckman.
No, that's a good guess though.
We hate this guy, huh? Big Ten guy. Oh, I know who. Ohio State coach.
Yep.
Tressel.
No, not him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he started at Youngstown State.
Oh, that's right. Shit. Meyer started there.
Urban Meyer.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Fun fact. And then he went to Utah.
Right.
And then built them up. And
I did not really. Were they good at Bowling Green?
I mean, obviously he was. I don't know how he did there. Obviously, it was good enough to get the job at Utah. Utah, I don't think was Power 5 yet, but
no,
still,
they were.
He built them up.
I kind of have to look this up now. I mean, yeah, you're right. He had to be pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I can't stand him, guy was a hell of a coach.
I didn't realize he was born in Toledo. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Holy Toledo, it's April Polito.
Penn State lost to Toledo once. 5-year-old Shawn was confused and heartbroken.
He also coached at Colorado State.
I did not know that. I know he was an assistant at Notre Dame back in the day.
They went 8-3 at Bowling Green. And then they went 9-3 the year after that.
I feel like that's good for that school.
That team went 2-9 the year before he took over.
Yeah, that's a good job. Well, good job done.
Yeah. So anyway, we didn't get very far without getting on a tangent. Bowling Green at Penn State, September 7th, noon kick. They have a bye week, and then they have Kent State coming to town, which will be riveting on September 21st. That time has not been decided yet. Then they will host the Fighting Illini. First time Illinois has been back since that awful overtime game. That time has not been determined yet. And this is the final game in a 3-game stretch at home. Penn State will take on UCLA Bruins for the first time with UCLA as a Big Ten member. To be determined on that one. And then they play at USC for the first time. USC's coming in ranked 23rd in the country, according to the AP Top 25. To be determined there. Guessing that one, I wonder if that one could potentially be a late kick.
I think that's going to be 3:30 because Oregon, Ohio State, I believe, play that day, and they're playing at night.
Yeah.
So
lucky for them. That's at Oregon, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah, I think Oregon has to go to Michigan, but then they host Ohio State.
Gotcha. Then Penn State has another bye. And then they'll face Wisconsin on the road before returning home and playing number 2 Ohio State. They have Georgia at number 1.
I think they do.
Yeah.
I would not. But
not that we care, but
yes.
They'll host Ohio State. Still technically to be determined, but that's looking like a noon kick. Then Washington for the whiteout on November 9th. That one's potentially 3:30 is what it's maybe sounding like there, but hasn't officially been released. Then at Purdue, at Minnesota, back-to-back weeks before ending at home against Maryland on November 30th. So that's the schedule, Shawn. Just, I guess, off the top, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think obviously we got a tester week 1. I don't think it's going to be particular. I don't know if it'll be an easy game or not. I tend to think no. Then Bowling Green, Kent State, Illinois. I mean, in my mind, those are teams we should beat. But I mean, that month of October, into early November. Yeah, that's a tough stretch of UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington, and that's probably going to define the season, guys. If they could get through there only dropping one or maybe even two, depending on if we could take care of business out at West Virginia, this is probably a playoff team. So I think when you break it up like that, because then the month of November after Washington, really, I don't think is very difficult. I don't think Purdue and Minnesota are going to be very good. And we all know about Maryland's late season woes. So we should fully expect that again. And we host them. So I'm not and they lost to his brother. So not overly concerned about them. So I think when you break it up like that, first part of the year really isn't that bad. West Virginia will be a challenge. And then the last part, I don't think is very difficult at all. But that middle is beefy.
So the middles, the unsung heroes. Sorry, that was who says that reference? I think it's from The Office. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to mention obviously UCLA, USC, Washington, 3 of the 4 new members. Penn State gets 3 of them. Misses out on Oregon, and you're right. When you look at this, I mean, that stretch there of UCLA, USC, Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington is an interesting stretch. Obviously, having to play USC and Wisconsin on the road is interesting. And also, you know how Penn State is with the losing after a bye or not coming out very good after a bye or losing after a loss. You potentially could lose to USC, have that extra week off, which I always say having that extra week off hurts when you lose a game, and having to go back then on the road to play Wisconsin. So not great as far as Penn State tends to let things snowball. This is a season that could snowball away from them or in their favor, depending on how things go.
Yeah, and historically they've been even worse off a bye, off a loss. To buttress your point, so I think that USC game. I mean, USC and Wisconsin, they'll go back and forth as the most important or second most important, or if you consider Ohio State the most important. But I think it's key that they take care of business out in the City Angels. So then they could come into Madison with some momentum. And then, dropping, I don't think Washington, especially by November, because I do think Jed Fish is a good coach. I think they could present some challenges too if we drop a game against Ohio State or if they have 2 losses going into that one, because the pressure's all on them now, all on them then. And I think, but at the same time, I think a silver lining in that is they're still going to have something to play for. Let's say they go in there with 2 losses against Washington. Well, they're going to have the whiteout, which always gives you a bit of an edge. And they're going to have 2 losses probably. I don't want to guarantee anything, but it probably gets you in to the playoff, where in the past 2 losses, you're out. There was never a 2-loss team that ever made the 14 playoff. So they're going to have some extra added motivation, I think, even if they were to drop 2.
There will most likely be a 1-9-3 team make the playoff as well.
Possibly.
I forgot who did the analysis, and I apologize. Somebody went back and looked at every, playoff that would have happened since like 2000, I think. And I think there's a lot of there was 9-3 teams that made the playoff, and they broke down how many were from the Big Ten, how many were from the SEC, et cetera. So 9-3, you might be able to get there, but now you really are not controlling your own destiny. And what do we say about that? And Penn State probably won't end up on the right side of that.
And don't forget that 12 team is a team from the group of 5.
Right.
So that makes things harder. So yeah, I mean, 2 losses probably gets you in. I'd be surprised if it didn't in the Big Ten, but yeah, 3, I just wouldn't count on anything at that point.
Right. And yeah, that's a big point. 2 games, it's not over. See how Penn State responds if they're put in that situation. Shawn, we got to talk about it. Is there a trap game on the schedule that concerns you?
I mean, if you want to consider Wisconsin maybe a bit of a trap game, as I mentioned, you lose if you lose to USC, going out to Camp Randall where they're gonna be crazy, and it's right before Ohio State. I will say this about James Franklin's teams: they don't often get caught looking ahead. They are good at staying focused on the next team. I don't remember really blowing games before Ohio State. Like they did lose to Illinois a couple of years ago, but I don't really think it was because they were looking ahead. I think it's more so their quarterback was borderline too hurt to play, and they just lost a heartbreaker Iowa, and they had the bye week in between that. So I don't really think that was even looking ahead. So that's something that his teams generally don't get caught doing. But if they were, it would be my quote unquote track game would be Wisconsin. And also, I just don't know how good Wisconsin's going to be this year. They are our mystery team. I could see them being a lot better. And I do think Luke Fickell's a good coach. But I didn't really love what I saw last year from them.
I think that's a good one. I think Wisconsin will be better than last year.
I think they'll be better. I just don't know how much.
Right. If I had to go with the trap game, to be honest with you, I think this Minnesota game scares me a little bit. At Minnesota, correct me if I'm wrong, Shawn, this is the first time being back in Minnesota since 2019.
Yes. I think James Franklin's only coached up there once.
Yeah.
Which seems crazy. And it was that game.
That was 2019.
2019, yeah. 2019, we were undefeated going in.
Right. So that is going to be great for my nerves. But the Wisconsin one obviously makes sense. They have that bye week. I think that helps a little bit as far as like back-to-back road games goes. I always get nervous about back-to-back road games. It's hard to do. It's hard to win that second road game in a row. I don't care who you're playing, especially in what I think to be probably a sleepy environment by the time November happens. I don't expect Minnesota to be in the running nationally. And now there's no Big Ten West where everybody literally was in the running every single year. Don't expect Minnesota to be playing for very much at that point. But kind of plays right into the trap to a certain degree. So, that one right after Purdue, you can make the case for even Purdue, depending on coming off of the whiteout, having to play out there. But I think if you're riding momentum like that, Penn does a pretty good job going on the road and taking care of business. It's difficult to win and go out and play 2 games on the road. That's why I think the Minnesota game potentially could be more of a sleeper. It's the last road test too before being at home. If Penn State's in the running for anything, they might be kind of looking ahead a little bit just to kind of wrap up the season. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that Minnesota game.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I just don't know how good they're gonna be. I look at them, I look at Purdue. I can't get really a good feel for how good they'll be. I mean, the thing with them though. And I think Penn State fans have this in the back of their heads because 1999, they ruined the perfect season. 2019, they ruined a potentially perfect season. So, yeah, I mean, they've always been a tricky team. But I still think I would still lean toward the Badgers.
Let me see here in my notes. Anything else about the schedule that you wanted to mention, Shawn?
No, I mean, I don't think it's overly challenging, which is good. I mean, I don't want to say that we play nobody because that isn't true. But you avoid Oregon, you avoid Michigan,
right?
And that's huge. I mean, I think Oregon might win the conference. I'm really, really high on them. So to not even have to play them, you only have to play Ohio State. You go out west, you got to go to USC, and we're gonna have to. I think every year we'll take one road trip out west, but you only have to go out there once, and then the two other teams you get to host. So I think that helps because it's a difficult thing going across country, and going to get a win. Uh, the only team that I went back and thought about this, the only team that I could think of to come to State College from Pac-12 country in my lifetime. Well, Arizona did in '99, but the only one that I could really remember was Oregon State. And Oregon State, who ended up being pretty good that year, got their doors blown off by Penn State in 2008. That just underscores right there. It is a hard thing to come across country, even if you're a good team, and come in there and get a win.
San Diego State played Penn State pretty tough for
That's
whatever
true.
that's worth.
That's true. They did. Yeah, I didn't really think of them because they're not Pac-12, but yeah, I thought they represented pretty decently that year. I mean, it wasn't a great Penn State team.
Who was that running back that they had that went to the NFL?
Oh, I forget what his name was. I think he led the country in rushing that year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very, very good. I think Penn State played. I think we did a good job with him though.
I can't remember. I'm looking it up. Donald Pumphrey.
Yeah.
I think, didn't he play for the Eagles for a little bit?
I want to say so. I think looking back at it, there's a reason why he was at San Diego State. He was a very good college running back. But I just don't think he really worked out in the NFL for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the part about going out west. Shawn, were there any special team stuff that you wanted to talk about? We didn't really have a preview on special teams per se. Kicking battle still going on. Riley Thompson for punter, Caden Saunders likely for punt returner. Kick returner, Singleton, Martin, maybe?
Yeah, they seem pretty set on Singleton from what Justin Lustig was talking about. And then Caden Saunders seems to be the punt returner. Does that make you nervous?
Excuse me for the yawn. I thought Caden Saunders was probably more consistent than Daquan Hardy as far as not doing the wrong thing.
Yeah, that's true. I guess he was more steady. And then
he wasn't obviously as much of a weapon, but as far as making the right decisions, I thought he was actually better than Daquan Hardy at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And then as far as the kicker, your guess is as good as mine, guys. I know Lustig is talking about all three guys. I know he said he may defer to go with the guy who, if they're close, they'll go with the guy who has the more experience. So I think that might mean Chase Meyer. But I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about Barker, and Sander has as good a leg as anybody. So I think they're just gonna go with what the numbers tell them, and if it's close, it'll probably be Chase Meyer.
Yeah, I'm very curious. I mean, so Haydak obviously has scared us a little bit with the consistencies perspective. So I'm curious how that kind of shapes out. I just want to mention Tyler Dzenski, long snapper.
The long snapper.
Man, kind of miss that. All right, so we talked about that briefly. I wanted to mention some rule changes. You brought up the college football playoff, 12 teams now. The top 4 have to be conference champions. So, pretty important part of that. Penn State isn't able to win the Big Ten. The best they can be is the 5th seed. And the 5th seed plays the 12th seed, 6th seed plays the 11th seed, 7th seed plays the 10th seed, and 8 and 9 in the first round. So no chance for the bye if you don't win your championship. It also means there's going to be some really good teams that don't get a bye and are going to have to play.
Yep.
I saw Josh Pate release his bracket. He had Penn State playing Georgia, in the first round. That would not be an easy matchup. Penn State at Georgia as well. So
Yeah, that would be a challenge. He also had Miami at the 3 seed.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna bring that up.
Yeah,
Wasn't
that was the
wasn't
one
wasn't
thing
gonna
that I
bring
was
that
like,
up.
every year it seems like I remember Desmond Howard was this guy a couple of years ago. There's some guy that's like, you know what, Miami's going to be really good this year, and then we get there and we're like, oh, they're 6-6 again or 7-5 again.
If they're lucky, yeah.
Yeah, like every year it seems like there's this one guy that goes, Miami's going to be really good. Never happens.
That when they played Notre Dame, they beat Notre Dame that year, and they were pretty good. And like people were almost back on the hype train, and then Wisconsin just flattened them.
Yeah, they lost to Pitt then too.
Mm.
Yeah, and honestly, Corey, I don't know what the problem is with Miami. Because they get these coaches that were successful elsewhere, and it never matters. They just stay the same forever.
We got enough Penn State problems. I don't have enough to figure out Miami's problems as well.
Yes, that is an excellent point here.
Wanted to mention 2-minute warning. Don't really feel like going on the rant that is college football and the fact that they're taking away time from us and then giving us time back with a 2-minute warning, but really it's just another opportunity for them to smash a commercial on us. But that is a big one. As far as people complaining about clock management in Franklin, this is something that he has some experience in because he was obviously coaching NFL, but this is different. It kind of sets up college football will be a lot like the NFL as far as kind of a quick 13-ish minutes, and then the last 2 minutes take like 17 commercials. It's awful.
Oh yeah, the commercials are still going to be there. Don't you worry your pretty little minds. They will be making their money. And the people will be looking at me unhinged as I yell, thanks, Fox, in the stands, or thanks, CBS or whoever. Yo, Fox is the worst with it, though.
No, it's terrible. Also, helmets. One player on offense, one player on defense will have communication to the sideline in between plays, and then they shut off after like 5 or 6 seconds or right before the snap or whatever it is. They already told Aller that they're not trying to give him too much stuff because they don't want him thinking a lot. I don't know if it was Aller who said this, but somebody had said that like they would go to the line with like 3 plays and trying to figure out what play they're going to run. I'm like, he doesn't know where he's even trying to throw the ball. So, yeah, I'd be curious to see how the headsets change things offensively. And, for the blog, he has a good thing on Andy Kotelnicki's offense and how it confuses the defense. Well, how much will having the headset help the defense not be as confused earlier in pre-snap? It cuts off after a certain amount of time before the snap, but how much will that help defenses get aligned in preparation for Andy Kotelnicki?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you might see some interesting things that happen early. I don't think it's going to mean a whole heck of a lot, though, to be completely honest. I don't think that's something that really changes a whole lot with the NFL and college. I mean, maybe there'll be less signals coming in from the sideline. I still think there will be some, but it's not like, I don't think Connor Stallions would really be able to, as Corey does, the signals that we used to see. I don't think there'll be pictures of Ben Jones up anymore, and I don't think it'll be quite like.
You don't think so?
I mean, like I said, I think some things will be signaled in because it's not like in the NFL. A lot of times they will, unless for whatever reason they don't allow the quarterback to audible if he's a rookie or young, or they just don't trust him because he's not very good at football. Typically they don't. Typically they give him a couple plays and he's able to audible out. So you don't really see too many signals from the sidelines. Whereas in college, they're not. You're not going to see a whole lot of college coaches be willing to give an 18 or 19-year-old just the keys to the car and be like, all right, audible to whatever you think is right. Unless they
Right.
really trust them. So it'll be interesting to see how much power Drew Aller will have at the line of scrimmage. I'm sure you won't know much because they won't tell us, but you might be able to tell some things because Cliff would always check us into into the right thing. So it varies by quarterback how much power the quarterback has at the line.
One other thing I wanted to mention, not really a rule or anything like that, but Penn State's also doing some renovating right now into the stadium. So we should see some new things. Food court options is one of them. Supposed to have a lot better food choices this upcoming year, so you can be excited about that. Whatever. But some of it looked good. Some of it I was like, we'll see. But
Yeah, I didn't like the gate by the grass, like the grassy hills the statue
yeah,
used to be. Because I was looking at it, I was like, are we gonna be able to like sit on the hill anymore, or just off limits now? Or I don't know if that's permanent.
you have to pay to sit on the hill.
You probably do. It all goes toward NIL, of course.
I don't think I know. Oh, I don't know if this got approved or not, Sean. Someone was saying, like the helmet pads they wear, like in practice. Somebody was saying that they were going to allow them to wear them during the game. I don't know if that got approved or not, but I saw something about that. So that is fans of sources right there. I don't know for sure if that's true or not.
Yeah, that I don't know. Oh, also we got a huge donation for the stadium being
That's
built,
right.
too.
Probably should have included that. Well, how much money was that?
I think it was $25 million.
It's not bad.
No. So from a big time booster, before you say, well, that could have went to NIL, he's also one of the biggest NIL contributors. So
It's a lot of money.
yes, more money than I'll ever have. So
I think I forget who said this, but somebody had a really good point about like when a big donation like that comes in, you realize like maybe you don't need everyone to really chip in $5 here and there. Take your kids out for one less movie because you want to help NIL. Maybe those people are the ones that just need to do all of it all the time. Just get like 30, rich people, but 30 people that want to donate and just let them take care of it.
well, therein lies the problem, Corey. A lot of our quote unquote whales that we do have, they either like take Terry Pagula, for example. He built the ice arena, and he also owns the Buffalo Sabres, owns the Buffalo Bills. So yeah, donating to NIL really is at the top of his priority list. And then there are other guys and women who do have a boatload of money, and I'm not just talking about like a doctor or a lawyer who like has a couple $1 million in the bank. I'm talking like has tens of millions of dollars in the bank. There's a few, but there's not nearly as much as like the University of Texas or Texas A&M.
Right.
But nonetheless, do we have them? Yeah. So we do have money sources. We do have money here, but just not enough of them are contributing.
And I will say this too. Penn State does have a large alumni base to support a lot of, things as well. Not a lot of people have that. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole of like NIL, but wanted to bring that up. All right, Sean, let's just go ahead and start looking at some expectations. Offensively, what is your expectation for this offense?
I think you're gonna see a running.
That didn't sound good.
I think you're gonna see a real devotion to the run. Like they're gonna run the ball, and run some more. Now, as we talked about last season, I think they tried to do that at times, but the problem was there was no real threat in the passing game. So I think they're going to. I think you're going to see more play action. I think you're going to see a lot of eye candy in the backfield. Andy Kotelnicki loves to do that. Like I said, a lot of guys, lot of moving parts pre-snap because you want to confuse the defense. So that's what I think you're going to see a lot of, and that's how they're going to get chunk plays in the passing game that they were just sorely missing last season, and that's going to help with the run. But this is still going to be a team that grounds and pounds, and I would expect a ton of that. And yeah, I think Singleton and Allen are both poised for big years. Now, my concern, and I don't think this is getting talked about enough. Everybody's talking about the receivers. People are talking about Drew. Offensive tackles. Like, I feel like nobody's talking about this enough. Drew Shelton, who I think did a good job his freshman year. I'm not hearing reports that are like, oh yeah, he's poised to be in for an all Big Ten season. I'm just not hearing that. Not hearing that he's doing poorly, but it's just like, yeah, he's there. Okay, we'll be all right. So I don't feel that inspired. Doesn't mean he can't be good. Like I said, I've liked what I've seen from him at times, but I think we need him.
Or how much they hurt him in his development.
And that's true too. He's been battling something. And then the right tackle spot, I don't know how great they feel about either guy. Nolan Rucci, I think he has ability. He's definitely athletic enough, but he also never started at Wisconsin. And then Donka, who I like, is still young. And I thought he played really well last year against Ole Miss, but it's no guarantee, and that's one game. And if he can't just clearly beat Nolan Rucci out, well, maybe both of them are really, really good and they just can't decide. Or maybe both of them kind of have stuff to work on and they're going to try to work through this into the season. And I tend to think the latter.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, everyone's talking about right tackle, but you're right. Like, we got to replace left tackle too. So, I agree with that. I think the expectations or the unknown of the offensive line is something not being paid attention to, because we talked about this a lot. Drew Aller is a lot better when he has time to throw. And will he be able to improve on that? I think he has to in order for this offense to be successful. He's just not going to have as much time as he had last year.
Right. Yeah, he's gonna have to be better under pressure because there's gonna be more. And part of that is a function of you just got your left tackle drafted in the first round and your right tackle in the early third round. So for most teams, there's going to be some kind of drop off. It's a question of how much of a drop off. And that's going to help determine the season. And like I said, everybody's going to talk about receiver and all of that. But look up front too. I think the guards will be okay. I think center will be all right. So I think the interior might even be better, which should help in the run game. But being able to do go side to side, go horizontal in the run game too, that are running, trying to run, between the guard and the tackle and even bounce it outside. I hope these tackles are up for it.
The interior is interesting to me because you're relying on fellas that have been there, but are by no means like an Olu or anything like that. Like household names to a certain degree that should be really know like how good they're going to be. Like even Sal Wormley, like how good can he be? Nick Dawkins, been around for a while, good leader. How good can he be? Vega, been around, playing a decent amount of football by now. Is he ready to become a dominant guard? Is he ready to take over things? Anything else you want to mention about the offensive line, Shawn, right now?
Yeah, I mean, you think of a guy like really, and I thought Hunter Norzad was good last year. But could I see a world where Nick Dawkins is just as good? Yeah. From all reports, Nick Dawkins has done really, really well in camp, not just from a leadership perspective, but he's ready to do this. And I know you mentioned there's no Olu, but man, I'm hearing a lot about Cooper Cousins. And I'm not ready to even put him above Sal Wormley or Vanga or JB Nelson yet. But I feel good about him. I think he could be in that top 4 rotation. And, typically we don't play 2 centers, but if he needs to step in, I think he could do it.
Thought Franklin had said something about using at least 8 offensive linemen, was what he said.
Yeah, I could see that. And typically I think they do to one degree or another. Maybe not even 2022. We had our starting 5, but Morzad played a lot. Big Slab played a lot. So I guess that's 7.
Big Slab.
Big Slab. And then Drew Shelton played. Granted, it was after Olu had gotten injured, but yeah, and Landon Tangwall. So they like rotating through guys.
They will rotate him through, but I'm curious more of how much they disrupt the pattern to get another offensive lineman. Let's say Duncan starts the first 2 games, or excuse me, the first 2 drives. Do you then put Dawkins in and maybe disrupt some of the chemistry? I don't really know.
What do you mean?
If you have Anthony Duncan start, and he's in there for 2 series, and you pull him, and then you let Rucci go for 2, I feel like you're maybe, as far as that guard tackle relationship, even that offensive lineman to tight end relationship, offensive lineman to pass blocking from the running back relationship, that chemistry, that momentum, that rhythm you kind of get in, I feel like it's more dangerous to do things like that than to just say, oh yeah, they're going to play. Okay, yeah, we know they're going to play against Kent State, but how many of those 8 are going to be playing early in the Ohio State game, early in the Washington game?
Yeah, because I always feel like when we play the Ohio States of the world, they tend not to rotate as much. And this has been a criticism of Franklin, that he tends to get more conservative with what he does.
Just in general, with everything.
Teams. Yes, just everything.
If you look at even Mike Yurcich's offense, hell, even go back to Joe Moorhead's offense. They did all this fun stuff, and then a lot of the times they didn't do very much of it. Now, there's a couple times where they did some Tommy Stevens stuff, but not one thing to completely divert from the conversation, with Andy Kotelnicki, does he do all the fun, cool stuff all the time, or is he only going to do the fun, cool stuff against teams that we can beat?
I mean, I like fun stuff all the time.
Me too.
Well, I mean, and if we even want to go down this rabbit hole, which we'll never be able to prove one way or another, does Franklin what's the word?
We're back, baby.
Yeah, does Franklin not tamper, meddle, the meddling debate that nobody will know, so it's dumb to even have this conversation. But I think you could make a good argument that he does, if we get real conservative again against Ohio State. If we're doing all this cool stuff against the Kent States of the world and even the USCs of the world, and then Ohio State comes to town and, oh yeah, we just buttoned everything up and we don't do any of that stuff anymore. Because even thinking about 2017, I don't think Tommy played at all, and Tommy played a lot that year.
What game was it where they tried to give him the football a couple times, on one series, and it didn't work?
But that's when we were trying the Lion thing. We were trying to make him seem like a starter, even though in my mind, that was just to keep Tommy there.
Right. I think that was in everybody's mind.
Yeah, I think that's what happened there. So everything felt really shoehorned that year. where I felt like in 2017, maybe it was just Jomo, just things felt more natural.
Right.
And not like we were just trying to force him in the game for no reason.
Shout out to Mark Creeder on YouTube, by the way. Gave us a question. We do have fan questions at the end of the show, a decent amount of them. Anyway, go back to your point. Yes, I don't know. And the talent, like as far as like switching out, but you don't switch people out as much because the talent you're facing. But if you truly think that Dunka and Rucci are equal, like theoretically they should be switching out then. So I don't know. I don't know how you figure that out.
Yeah, it's a tough conundrum.
What about any expectations for the defense, Shawn?
I think they're going to be really good. I'm expecting really big things from them. Do I think they're going to be as good as last year? I don't. But do I think they could still be really, really freaking good? Yeah, and I think they could even be better in some areas than they were a season ago. Like this safety room, top to bottom, well, top three guys, I should say. I mean, God, this is as good as this is as complete as I remember them having. So I think they're going to be really good. Defensive tackle, they get everybody back. I'm expecting Zane Durant to actually take another step this year. And then defensive end, I don't think you're going to see a dramatic drop off from last season. Losing a guy like Chop, who's one of the best to ever do it here. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to just put someone in and then, it's magically the same. But Abdul Carter and Dennis Sutton, like, that's a fine thing to reload with. And I'm fully expecting that. So.
Shawn, you didn't see what the West Virginia fan said on Twitter about Abdul Carter?
No, what do you say?
The fact that I figured out what his tag was that fast is kind of scary. Penn State's Abdul Carter, very bad versus the run, 7 out of 13 games last year, having a below average grade, had 16 missed tackles and a missed tackle rate of 28.1%. PFF tackling grade of 35.9, only 4 sacks for a guy that's supposed to be an elite edge rusher. First round talent?
Well, he also isn't playing linebacker this year, and he wasn't playing edge last year.
Right.
So I don't know what you want me to say. Now, I will say, when we've talked about this, if you listen to the show every week, Abdul Carter had some rough weeks last year. He didn't play well against West Virginia in particular. He didn't play well against Michigan. Like, there were weeks that he didn't play well, and we talked about that. But I think he's more of a natural edge rusher. I think that's now there may be a bit of a learning curve there because he's gonna have to not quite unlearn what he did at linebacker, but it's a whole different thing playing on the edge. If you've ever played football, playing linebacker and playing edge, even though you're not too far away from each other, it's totally different assignments. So I want to see how he sets the edge in the run game. That's one, like, I know he's going to be able to get after the quarterback. There's not going to be too many offensive tackles that'll be able to do all that great blocking him when he pass rushes. But I want to see how he does setting the edge against the run. That's my one thing with him. And if he does a good job with it, yeah, sky's the limit. He's going to be a first round pick.
Kind of forgot about that West Virginia game for him last year.
Yeah, he was not that to West Virginia. If that was the only game that West Virginia fans saw, I could see what he's saying because he really wasn't very good that game.
Right. I was just teasing because people are freaking out about that account on the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, I mean, let people talk trash. That's okay, guys. People get so like, oh, I can't believe you insulted my favorite team. Like, this is fun. As long as people don't get gross.
Shawn, what are your expectations for James Franklin?
He's gonna do what he does. we're gonna be really good.
That's the most political answer I've ever heard from you.
Well, we're gonna get into predictions.
Okay.
Like
Well,
season predictions. So I want to save a little bit of my ammo. We're gonna be really good.
all right. Well, we got Hardy's and fan questions, and then we'll get to the predictions.
Okay.
Or let's do fan questions. Let's do predictions. I feel like the Hardys might give away some of our predictions.
All right.
Does that seem to make a little bit more sense?
That sounds good.
All right. Well, let's jump over and let's look at some fan questions. We got a good amount, so you guys are definitely back in season form. Appreciate that. First question. From Einstein von Braun, Mister. With Pat McAfee going live from Morgantown next week, will we be getting a live broadcast from the premier Penn State podcast deep in the heart of enemy territory?
I will not be at West Virginia. So.
No. I am going.
Yes.
I paid an arm and a leg to go.
Yeah, I saw it's the most expensive ticket we've won.
It's ended up being, after an insane amount of garbage fees, $380 a ticket.
You got to go to tickpick.com.
We're not sponsored by them.
No, for real though. That's where I get all my tickets anymore. There are no hidden fees.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're actually I've been using them for the past few years now. Is Ticketmaster and StubHub just kill you?
Right. Anyway, I might do a little TikTok or something from out there. Next question. This question comes from Dorito Bandit, longtime listener to the show. At times, Drew Aller struggled on the road last year. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not at all, how concerned are you regarding his readiness to play in a rowdy road environment in week 1?
7.
Not tipping your cards at all, are you?
I mean, I'll go 7 because I do think it's going to be crazy there. But at the same time, I don't think West Virginia's defense is going to be that great. So that's why I'm not going to go any higher than that. But still pretty concerned about that because, yeah, he only played well, really. Well, he played well against Michigan State, and even though they were half dead. And he played well against Maryland. So it was a bit of a mixed bag. But the Illinois, Northwestern, and Ohio State games are just rough.
Game not being at night definitely helps.
Yes, absolutely.
Next question. JP Lyons, another long-time listener. I know for sure he also participates in the Pick'em. Do you agree with the game thought on West Virginia? Our D needs to stop the run, and stop the run some more. Make Green, West Virginia's quarterback, beat you with his arm. Do you agree with that mindset? Like, just stop the run. They got 2 pretty good running backs over there.
Mostly. Garrett Green, his superpower comes from running the ball too. Now he's a little bit like Jalen Milroe, actually, in that he gets a lot of big plays with his arm over the top, but short to intermediate range, he's not that great. But he's got an arm, and by the numbers, he has one of the most explosive. Like he's prone for the more for explosive passes. He actually had 1 or 2 against Penn State. He chucks it deep, yeah. And he burned, I think it was Johnny Dixon once last year. It was a very impressive throw. So it tends to be one of those guys that better with deep balls, but short to intermediate ranges where he struggles. So yeah, keep him in the pocket and then try to neutralize those backs. And thankfully, I think our defense is built for stopping the running backs. Green scares me a little more.
Can we disagree, like, that we're gonna, like, when does the chuck it deep joke die? I know I just said it, but, like,
Probably when
do
we're
we
able to chuck it deep.
do we not use that phrase? I mean, I don't know.
Because that week everybody was saying to Corey Geiger, "Oh man, F you," and he ended up
Forgot
being right,
about that.
except us, of course. But then as time went on, people were like, "Oh yeah, we don't chuck it deep at all." So
next question comes from our scats. Was Dakari Nelson's move to linebacker done out of necessity? It's not surprising, just the timing of it sounds weird. I don't know if I buried that in the lead. It's definitely in the ticker, but safety Dakari Nelson moved from safety to linebacker. During the defensive preview, we mentioned Dakari Nelson's, bigger guy. They don't have a lot of depth at linebacker. I think what I specifically said, Shawn, was who's the number 2 linebacker for Will and who's the number 2 linebacker for Sam. I don't know who those people are yet. I'm assuming Tamir Robinson fills in there somewhere, but where?
yeah, I think it's Abdul Carter. I think you're gonna see him flip into being a linebacker some. As far as Dakari Nelson goes, I mean, even out of high school, it was talked about he might end up being a linebacker. But yeah, do I think it was necessity? Yeah, I kind of do. Especially when you consider the safety depth. I mean, obviously they feel good enough about it, but after those top 3 guys, it's pretty unproven. So, because we thought we were gonna have King Mack this year, and he is not there. So I'm wondering if AJ Harris could actually play some safety. I'd be interested to see, one of our reporter friends could ask James Franklin if any of the corners could handle playing safety, and if they practice there at all. But that I don't know. I mean, and then you have to factor in Colin Dinkins too. I think he's going to be one of those top 4 guys. So I think it probably also says something about him and how good they feel about him.
Don't steal my boy. He's mine. You go find your own. I like Colin Dinkins. We're going to interrupt this broadcast to just quickly also mention. Do you see this stuff? The Big 12 is once UConn.
No.
Oh yeah.
I could kind of see it, especially from basketball, but in basketball, yeah, imagine them in the Big 12, because Big 12 is an awesome basketball conference, but man, they make no sense for football. But nothing does anymore. There's no regionals. No. I mean, you're going to have Stanford and Cal in the ACC. They play on another coast, 3,000 miles away. It's just amazing.
I love it. All right. Refocus. Matty Ice. I feel like Matty Ice did really well in the pick'em last year too.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I don't remember. Are you worried that West Virginia has 13 reasons to why they'll beat Penn State by 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the 13 reasons why. I was like, 13 reasons. I don't.
Please,
I don't know where we're going
Shawn.
with that. But
did you ever watch that? Did you watch that thing?
No, it felt too dark for me.
Yeah, I did not either.
Yeah. Sure.
Anyway, I just wanted to read that one off. Will Gamble, very active on X, longtime listener, believe there will be growing pains for the offense or defense in game 1 against West Virginia.
Sure, of course. Yeah, when you have 2 new coordinators and you're playing against a good team, yeah, there are going to be some growing pains. Or even were growing pains for Manny Diaz that first game against Purdue. I don't think the defense was that great that night. They were playing against a pretty good offense as well, but yeah, playing against a pretty good offense this time. So yeah, I think you'll see some probably on both sides of the ball. And Joe always said you get better the most, you improve the most between week 1 and week 2. Well, week 1 is this week, so we better have better be ready. But yeah, I think you'll see some.
I feel like you like that line more than Joe likes that line.
Yes, I say it every year. I'll probably say it next year too.
And you're going to definitely say it after the West Virginia game.
Yes. Especially if we don't play well. That'll be me coping.
All right. Last one here. I mean, all of like the longtime listeners, longtime question askers reached out this week. This one's from Lucas Powers. Do we really believe Franklin when he says our secondary and receivers are significantly improved? I don't know. Excuse me, if that was verbatim. I believe with what he said about the secondary was that he thought they were more athletic. And maybe I just missed it, but I don't know if I saw him say that the receivers are significantly improved. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Let's assume that he did say that. No, I don't believe him. I don't believe anybody. I think Franklin said on yesterday that they're kind of tired of talking about it. They're ready to just go out there and just play because you only can learn so much from yourself.
Yeah, I did hear him say that as well. To be clear, I don't know if I heard verbatim that the receivers are better, are significantly better. If he did say that, no, I don't really believe him. But I do believe him when he says Liam Clifford's done well. I do believe him when he says Harrison Walls is done well. Like something that you'll see with him, and being that he's been here 10 or 11 years now, we've been able to observe. If he's talking about people without any prompt, that means they're doing well. And he has brought Liam Clifford up a few times now unprompted as a guy that's improving. It's part of the reason why I think he's going to be starting. So I think there are elements of the receiving room that are going to be better. I think there are elements of the secondary that are going to be better. But as a whole, are they going to be? I don't know. And I don't think he really does either. And he kind of even said that at this point, like you said, I think the media got to talk to him on the very last day of camp. So they're still practicing between now and the West Virginia game, but they're more or less in West Virginia prep as opposed to training camp. And after that, like when you get to the last day, you don't know until you hit the field. So I think they're going to be learning too what they have when the lights go on.
I'm definitely not same camp of, it reminds me of the offensive line stuff.
Yes. And the year that he finally stopped saying, I'm not talking about the offensive line, is the year they got good. So
right,
maybe it's a good omen.
Right, because he had said the 2 years before.
Yes.
So, okay. Thank you for the fan questions. We will continue to do that throughout the year. Oh, we have one more. I almost forgot. Mark Kreider's on YouTube. He says, do you guys think that both Katron Allen and Nick he put Singletary, but Nick Singleton go for 1,000 yards on the ground? He actually put 1,000 K, so I'm pretty sure that would be
that's
1,000 thousands.
Yes. Yes, I do think that.
Wow. Shawn, did you just give away your prediction?
Yeah, I kind of did. Thanks, Mark. But yeah, I think this is going to be, like I said, run-heavy team. And those home runs that we were missing from last year from Nick Singleton, right, you're going to see them this year.
Right. That is exactly what I was going to say. If they're both going to go over 1,000 yards, then Nick Singleton has to have like a 6 yard per carry average at the bare minimum.
I mean, he did it once, and he's capable of it again. I just don't think we really used him right last year until Mike Yurcich got fired. And I'm not really in the camp of, because I think you saw in the Ole Miss game that the offense in whole really didn't get that much better after Yurcich left. But I do think Nick Singleton would have been better if not for Mike Yurcich. I think that's pretty clear that he wasn't using him correctly.
Thanks, Mark. That was really good last second question to ruin Shawn's predictions. All right. So we have the Hardy Awards. I think we wait and we go with the predictions first. Shawn, I have no clue who started with the predictions last year.
Go ahead.
You okay? Wow. My voice has done a lot better than I thought it was going to do.
Yeah, you sound good.
Prediction time. Can't believe it's already here. I'm getting sort of 20. What would that be? 2021 vibes?
I hope not.
2022 vibes.
Okay.
I'm getting 2022 vibes about the season, and as far as the preseason goes, right, where a lot of people don't really know what to expect. People I see in their predictions are kind of playing it, 9-3 conservatively, just because they don't know enough, right? That year, our first year doing this, we sat here and I went way more optimistic than I think most people did. I think I had Penn State going to the Rose Bowl and beating USC. They went to the Rose Bowl and they beat Utah because I believed in Shawn Clifford. This year, again, a lot of people have some doubts. Not everything's figured out. Schedule is relatively favorable, but again, it depends largely on quarterback play. And while I do think Andy Kotelnicki is going to improve the offense, get the ball out of Drew Aller's hands fast, stretch the defense vertically, stretch them horizontally, confuse them, I cannot predict anything better than 9 wins until I see Drew Aller take that next step. I just can't, because no matter what offense you have, your quarterback has to be a threat. And Drew Aller wasn't a threat last year. Now, he did some good things. He took care of the football. Still ended up having a pretty good season, especially if you compared it to, say, Shawn Clifford's first season starting. But he's got to do more, especially on the road. And that is kind of why I have Penn State with 3 losses. I mean, obviously, let's just get out of the way. I'm not going to have them beat Ohio State until I see them beat Ohio State. That one's easy. But then go back to my point. At USC, at Wisconsin, I don't have anything to make me feel good about Drew Aller on the road at either of those games. I know USC, historically here has had bad defenses, but Drew Aller wasn't doing very good against other bad defenses last year besides maybe Maryland. And that's a borderline away game. Even against Northwestern last year, he struggled. And you know me, I don't like using the rear view mirror to make predictions. You got to use the windshield. But I'm still very much concerned about that. And maybe if I could maybe have the West Virginia game happen and then make my prediction, maybe I'd feel better about it. But until then, I've got to see Drew Aller be loosey-goosey, baby, loosey-goosey, before I can potentially see them winning 10 games. So I'm going to put them at 9-3. And I think we'd all agree that that'd be a bad year. It'd be a very frustrating year. The optimistic side of me wants to say there's no way that it's the same exact thing that happened last year as far as the defense carrying them and the offense just not being able to do enough. But it's all going to be on the shoulders of Drew Aller. So I got them going 9-3. I got them losing to Wisconsin, USC, and Ohio State. That is, we just said at the beginning of the show, that is the stretch. And how do they respond after a loss? How do they respond on the road? That's going to dictate the season. It's going to take leadership, and it's going to take Drew Aller. So that's what I got.
Wow. And we did not discuss this prior, so I'm a little surprised by you, Corey.
I know.
But I get your reasoning.
And cynical.
Yeah, maybe it's get married. And I'm still single and, well, not really single.
Gonna get in trouble now.
Yeah, I'm engaged, but I'm not yet married. I don't know. Maybe something changes when you put that wedding ring on. But anyhow, I see what he's saying. Right? And something that I said on Roar Lions Roar last night, they asked me for my 10,000-foot view of Penn State football, which is a big question to ask. And I said, look, this season's going to come down to how much better, if at all, does the offense get, and how much worse does defense get, if at all. And if the answer is the defense takes a small step back, offense takes a pretty big step forward, this is going to be a really good football. And I would take that. And if the defense takes a bigger step back and the offense barely goes forward, well, yeah, it's going to be an 8 or 9 win team, because that ain't good enough. Even if you have a top 15 defense, if you have an offense that can't get out of their own way, well, that ain't good. That's not good enough in a Big Ten schedule. When you have the teams that we have to play, we have to go into the road environments we have to go into. So what do I think? Well, as I said, I think this season is really broken up into a few different parts. And first part, I don't think is too overly difficult. West Virginia is going to give us some challenges, but overall not that bad. Getting to the USC game, I hear what you're saying about Drew needing to make plays, because I think that's true. I want to take you back to the Rose Bowl in 2022. And we ran right through Utah. And this defense, I think Deontay Lynn's going to be a good defense coordinator for them. I don't think you're going to see that many results in year one. I don't. Because that's not typically, you don't go from being a terrible defense to being a great defense. Typically. I think they'll be better, but I don't think they'll be that good. And I think we're going to be really able to ride Nick and Katron in those games. So I think they're going to beat USC. And like I said, with Wisconsin, I don't know enough to believe in them yet. I really wasn't impressed by them all that much. And I do think Luke Fickell's a good coach. I get that. But I think just top to bottom, Penn State's a better team. So I'm taking Penn State to beat Wisconsin as well. And then Ohio State, I can't pick Penn State to beat Ohio State. Just can't do it. I'll believe it when I see it. Maybe they'll do it before I die. But I just can't see it until it happens. So that's going to be a loss. Whiteout will help with Washington. I'm afraid of that one. But I think with us having our whole season still to play for, assuming my prediction's right, I think they take care of business against Washington. And I think they go 11-1. I can't believe I'm picking another 11-1 season back-to-back years. I can't believe Corey's going 2 losses worse than I am, because on this show, I think some people kind of see me as a tad of a wet blanket sometimes, and Corey's the optimistic one, and we are taking totally different predictions. But I don't think the defense is going to be that much worse than the defense last year, and I do think the offense takes a step. I think Andy Kotelnicki's the real deal, using that motion, getting our guys involved in the right stuff. And yeah, I think Drew takes a step. I don't know how dramatically, but really, I don't think he needs to take a huge step forward. I think he just needs to be better. I think he needs to be more loosey-goosey. I think he needs to trust his arm more. I don't think any of these problems are anything that he can't fix. I think they're all teachable things, and that's why draft experts still like him. And I think Kotelnicki's going to be able to get enough out of him to be able to say, look, Drew, if you throw an interception here and there, you're not going to die. We're not going to pull you. It happens. And I'm not going to say that he'll be encouraging him to throw interceptions, but throw your guys open. Give them a chance. You have Harrison Wallace, who I think is going to be poised for a good year. You have a guy like Omari Evans. Yeah, there are going to be times that when the play starts, it's not going to look like he's open, but he's fast as hell. He's going to have chances to get open. Trust him. Trust your guys. And I think if he could just do some small things right, the big things are going to take care of themselves, and they're going to have two great running backs to lean on. So I'm going 11-1, guys. I'm feeling good again. I hope I don't look like an idiot again picking us to go 11-1, but that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the flip side of the coin. The biggest thing I think that could help with Drew Aller and Andy Kotelnicki is taking some of that decision out of the hands of Drew Aller. Kind of like what they did with Sean Clifford early on. That could help and make a significant difference if he could play faster. But the other thing about that USC game is they haven't done the logistics of going out to the West Coast.
That's true.
And that makes me a little nervous too. But yeah, it's weird. A little bit of role reversal there. Again.
And are we getting the Dunce hat this year if we're wrong?
We probably should.
I feel like we got to do something if we pick Penn State to win or Penn State to lose and they win. I should have worn Dunce hat a couple of years ago when they beat Auburn.
A big thing you should have. A big thing of Crow.
Yeah, I feel like we got to get creative.
Shawn, do you have a bold prediction you want to put down for the season? I think last year I went. What'd I say? 50 sacks.
I referenced that the other night on the Roy Lions Roar podcast because they had an over-under, which I don't think they'll mind if we steal this. Over-under 40 sacks.
Yeah, I'd go over.
I went over too, and I was telling them about Cory every single week would keep us updated on the 50 sack run, and eventually we finally got there with the bowl game. Bowl prediction, teased it to the point of saying it. I think Nick and Katron go over 1,000 yards each this year. As I said, this is going to be a run-heavy team. They're going to be able to take the load off of Drew Aller's shoulders. That's part of the reason why I'm so optimistic about this season is these two running backs. If there's one thing that I really trust about Andy Kotelnicki is in the run game. I think that's in his DNA, being, run heavy and feeling comfortable with that. And he's never had running backs like these two guys. So I think he's got to be super stoked for this. And they're gonna run them a lot.
You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
This is, you know what? I didn't record your bold prediction, but you kind of mentioned it on the question, so I think we're okay. I'm going to record mine because I think it's going to generate some hoopla.
Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But now I'm curious what you're thinking, but
I'll tell you after you talk.
My bold prediction is that Drew Aller will have more rushing touchdowns than Bo Prabila.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say
Bo Prabila would be
starting by the end of the season. I was going to be like, oh, he's going to say the thing, isn't he? Okay, so you didn't say the thing.
No.
I could see that, honestly. He could be a battering ram for us. I don't know why we didn't use him in that way a little bit more. I mean, they didn't want to hurt him, but you have a guy that's as big as he is, 3rd and 1s. Feels like they should be pretty automatic.
How many did they have last year?
How many what?
Like rushing touchdowns that both of them have last year.
I don't think Drew had that many. He did against Michigan. I mean, Bo had quite a few.
Drew Aller had 4. Bo had 6 last year.
When did Drew score his other rushing touchdowns? Did he have one against? I think he had one against Maryland. He definitely had one against Michigan.
Hold on. Delaware? Northwestern, UMass, Michigan.
Okay.
Pretty forgettable.
Yeah, that's the thing. 3 of them came in games that
He had 3 carries for 1 yard against UMass and a touchdown. 8 carries for 4 yards and a touchdown against Northwestern. 5 carries for 27 yards and a touchdown versus Delaware. That Michigan game, 10 rushes, 49 yards, and a touchdown.
He ran 10 times. I know he gets probably a couple of those were sacks, but they did try to run him more, and it was kind of working until he fumbled.
Fumbled it.
Yeah, but it was kind of working with it.
It was. All right, bold predictions are done. Last thing that we need to walk through, Shawn, is who we think is going to win the Hardy Awards, which I don't even know if you should be allowed to do this, Samwise Gamgee, because you didn't follow through and watch what you're supposed to watch.
I did not.
Per usual. Again, Hardy's are the award show we do at the end of the year. I'll probably put these up on Twitter. I usually do it before the season preview. I just didn't get a chance to. So we'll see if we can maybe do that. Let's start with the Premature Maturation Award. The award given to a player that developed and turned into a stud before anyone was expecting them to.
I feel like it's cheating to go Cooper Cousins because everybody's been talking about him, but so I'm not going to go with him. I'm going to go Quint Martin. I think Quint Martin's poised for a really positive year. I wonder exactly how much as I go off camera. I'm sorry, I have to plug my laptop in. I think you're gonna love his position versatility, even though I think he's gonna be splitting those third team reps with Cam Moss. I think he's gonna make impacts, if not, and maybe even in the kick return game. Because I know I said Nick Singleton's probably gonna be the guy, but Nick Singleton's also gonna be playing in the NFL next year. So I'm sure they're going to try to rotate him in more as to not expose Singleton to too many injuries. And really, I don't think Nick Singleton's all that great at kick returns. I think he's all right, but I think there are other guys that could do it.
I don't know. It's pretty quick.
Yeah, but I feel like we could upgrade. Is that a hot take?
Kinda. I mean,
Did I just have a hot take that I didn't call a hot take for?
He had some really long returns. He had a return against Rutgers one year for a touchdown.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
This is going to be, this is kind of a hard category. We always kind of get a little confused on it, but last year KJ Winston won it, which I think was an easy one for us. I'm going to go way hot take here. This probably is going to be borderline because I don't think he's going to be like an amazing stud. But I'm going to go with Max Granville.
Wow. High school senior.
Literally just because I heard that somebody referenced him as a young Chop Robinson.
I mean, who knows?
There's going to be more playing time.
Yeah, and our friends and I were discussing one of the guys that would probably be in the running for this, Luke Reynolds. Because Luke Reynolds has been getting a lot of attention, but the thing with him is he's just like that depth chart that tight end is just so hard to break through. But he's another guy to watch, for sure. And of course, Cooper Cousins.
Yeah, I didn't know. I wanted to pick Rappleyea, but I just didn't know. I just don't know. I think Rappleyea would fall in that category too.
Sure, he would still qualify because he didn't play a whole lot. I think he's a redshirt freshman, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't think he played in a ton of games.
Right. Getting offensive award, Shawn. I'm gonna take Nick Singleton. I mean, I think he bounces back strong.
I'm gonna go Nick Singleton too.
Tyler Warren won that award last year. Tyler Warren also won the all right.
I mean, I do think Tyler Warren's going to lead the team in receiving yards. but so he'd be a contender. But I just think you're going to see that home run threat again, and chicks dig the long ball. So I think that's going to carry the day for Mr. Singleton.
All right. It goes to three players that are more than all right. I'm going to go with Anthony Dunca, Sal Wormley, and Vega One.
Going all line here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Drew Aller. I think he'll be all right. I think this will be his first Hardy. I'm going to go Khalil Dinkins. I think we're going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. And I'm going to go with Liam Clifford. I think people are sleeping on Clifford.
Those are good picks.
Yep. I think he's your slot guy. I'm interested to see what happens to Caden Saunders, though.
Me too. I think whoever gets that spot is going to get the all right award. I just don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
What about the Havoc Award given to the most disruptive player on defense? I think you got 2 choices here.
Going Abdul Carter. When you think of Havoc, I think Chop Robinson probably first thought to your head. But for this team, I think Abdul Carter fills in that role. And
we might have to eventually rename the Havoc Award the Chop Robinson Award, maybe at some point.
Yeah, we might as well just name it after him. I think when you think of that too, Tony Rojas will be in the running, and Denai Dennis Sutton. I just think Denai Dennis Sutton is going to be such a stabilizing force for them, and the more technically sound of the two. But Abdul Carter is going to have the most splash,
like LeVar Arrington, kind of.
I hope so.
I will just throw out there, as a dark horse to this award, Zane Durant.
Yeah, I like that. If I was a betting man for the Hardys, I'd probably take Zane Durant because I think you'd get some good value there.
Right. All right, Mr. Dependable went to Olu last year. Who will be Mr. Dependable this year?
That is a good one because I think you go a few different directions. I'm going to go Tyler Warren because when I think of the guys on this roster that I'm the least concerned about, Tyler Warren's right on the list. That's right at the top of the list. I think you could make a good argument for Jalen Reed as a guy that has played football here for like 60 years now. But Tyler Warren, you know what you're going to get from him. You know he's going to be awesome. So I'm going to go with him.
I'm going to take A.J. Harris.
Oh.
I think we don't know if he's dependable yet. I think it's going to take potentially 2 quarters for us to think to know that we can depend on him. And if he is who I think he is, it is going to really help this defense as far as the coverages that they can play and the schemes that they want to call. So I'm going to go with A.J. Harris there.
Hey, I love A.J. Harris. I think that guy is going to be awesome. So if he wins Mr. Dependable, then I think when you consider the Tyler Warrens of the world, Jalen Reeds of the world, man, I think we're going to be in a pretty good spot there at corner. Because I think we both think A.J. Harris is going to be cornerback 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's going to be awesome.
What about We're Going to Miss You award? Obviously, a player that we're going to miss after the season.
Jalen Reed. I mean, he's definitely going to be gone. I don't think he has any eligibility left. And, when you think of a guy that's just been really, really solid and just been a cornerstone and has low-key waited his – I don't want to say he's waited his turn because he's played a lot. But I know he's good. Maybe I'm going too senior heavy here because he could make a good argument for his counterpart, KJ Winston.
Yeah.
But maybe KJ comes back. But I know for a fact Jalen Reed's going to be gone, so we can go with him. Like I said, could probably go on senior heavy here.
I'm going to go with Devon J. Thomas.
Oh.
And I think you could pick a couple of those defensive line guys, but we are going to miss the defensive interior after this year. I think as from an experience perspective, but just from a production perspective, I think the defensive tackles are going to be as good as they've been in a long time.
And in 2025, we are Will Smith in the empty house on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at defensive tackle.
Yeah, exactly. And I like my leadership.
Yep.
We're gonna miss his leadership.
Brings.
Okay, I think we only have one more award.
Is this the Gamgee Award?
Yes.
Okay.
The Samwise Gamgee Award, which if you don't know what that means, go watch Lord of the Rings. The Samwise Gamgee Award goes to the unsung hero of the team. Shawn, who's going to be your unsung hero?
Kobe Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that guy, I feel like I talk about this every week, so maybe I can't say he's underrated anymore because I just talk about how wonderful he was last year. But he was really good last season, and I felt like nobody really talked about him. And I can't really think of a game, like we brought up Abdul Carter, and when that West Virginia fan brought him up, and we acknowledged, yeah, there are games that Abdul Carter really didn't play well. I can't say that about Kobe King. I felt like he was at least pretty good in every game. And that's what you're going to get with him. Kind of reminds me a little of Jason Kabinda, which I think we'll all take a Jason Kabinda on the team. Might even be a little quicker. I think Kabinda may have been a little stronger than him, but might be a little more nimble. So yeah, I think he fits this bill perfectly.
I really want to go for two here. At the end of the day, he might not be very unsungy, but I don't know exactly how this is all going to go down. And let's just say your prediction's right, that they do just enough on offense. Like they don't turn into this offensive juggernaut, but they run the ball well. They run for over 2,000 yards. All the focus is on Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. Tyler Warren's picking up all the touchdowns in the red zone. Bo Burbila's stealing some touchdowns here and there as well. Trey Wallace may end up with 800 yards receiving and like 3-4 touchdowns. But I just feel like his touchdowns and his plays on third down, he always found a way to get open there just in that West Virginia game. I feel like he's going to be kind of that safety blanket go-to guy for Drew Aller when he needs to convert. And I think Trey Wallace, as far as 50-50 balls, is your best bet. So I think Trey Wallace is going to keep drives alive, maybe not get credit and get in the end zone when that drive eventually comes to termination, but he's going to help keep the drives alive all season long. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he goes for 1,000 yards and he's not an unsung hero at all. But I think your prediction as far as how the offense looks, Trey Wallace could to the radar a little bit and still be a very, very pivotal part of this offense.
Yes, and remember, my 11-1 prediction hinges on Harrison Wallace staying healthy, which is something that, unfortunately, and you can't help this, he struggled to do. And if he could stay healthy, yeah, I think he's going to be seen as one of the best players on this team.
I think that's, you know what? Coach of the year. The Joe Moorhead Assistant Coach of the Year.
Andy Kotelnicki.
I think you have to do that if you're going to go with your prediction.
Yeah, I think he's going to make everything better. So, not much more to say than that.
I tell you what, I think there's, in my opinion, besides Andy Kotelnicki, there's really only two other options because it's going to make or break the season. Terry Smith, the corners reload.
I like that.
Then I think, and they're successful. I don't know how you can say Terry Smith doesn't. Probably give it to Terry Smith every year, honestly. The other one, in my opinion, and kind of for similar reasons, is Trotwine. Because if you're able to replace 3 NFL draft picks, including generational Olu, and you're able to get a true sophomore to start at right tackle potentially, and or make Nolan Rucci, who never started at Wisconsin, into a starting right tackle in 6 months, basically, that's a hell of a coaching gig. So if the offensive line, let's say we're wrong, the offensive line doesn't lose a step or is even just as good or even just a smidgen worse, that's a hell of a job compared to what Penn State has had to go through with offensive lines, say before Olu was around, just say before Phil Trotwine was around. So I think to me, those are the two that if the season is successful, it's going to be probably because both of them did a hell of a job coaching.
Yeah, I like both those picks. Especially the Terry Smith one. I think you may even want to mention Tom Allen. Now, Tom Allen's inheriting a good defense, but like, let's say they go from being a top 3 defense last season to being a top 5 defense with really everything they lost. Yeah, Tom Allen, that's a job well done. I don't think they're going to be quite that good, but I think they're going to be somewhere in the top 10. So, but if they could really take no step back from last season, man, that's a hell of a job from Tom Allen.
That to me is, I am very interested in the Tom Allen defense coming from such a aggressive defense in Manny Diaz. Anything Tom Allen does, I just don't know what to expect. Like, how much more tame is it than what Manny was doing? Manny was blitzing and playing cover 0 on a 3rd and 27. You know what I mean?
It also got us burnt a few times.
It did. It did.
That was
no
one
doubt
of the
about
only
it.
problems with the defense last year is we gave up so many chunk plays on 3rd and long.
Right. So I don't know. That to me is the interesting part of it. So I think if anybody can match Manny Diaz's energy, it's Tom Allen, which is hard to do.
Yeah, I would agree.
You getting excited, Shawn?
Yeah, I think we're going 11-1, so of course I am.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I will not see you for a little bit. You have a good time on your vacation. And
Sir?
We will be back Wednesday night with Roar Lions, Roar Bill Del Filippo. Am I saying that right? I don't know.
I think it's Di Filippo.
Di Filippo.
I think so.
Sounds better. Di Filippo. To replace Shawn.
Not permanently.
We'll see what happens.
Oh, well. Is Matt trading you, Bill? And you're trading me to RLR?
I got a 7th round pick though. In addition, that makes you feel better.
Oh wow! So they had to throw in a sweetener. Okay.
Look out for the Big Ten pick. I'll probably get that up on Monday. Let me start picking some games, and we will see you Wednesday. Thank you guys so much. Again, we'll be back to twice a week, pretty much after the West Virginia game. But let's do it. Season 4, kind of season 3, underway here. Hardcore Penn State football. That's Shawn Kane. I'm Cory Lestochi. If you made it this far, please like the video, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe wherever you're listening. Appreciate you guys. See you, everybody.